So in this lesson, we are going to look at something called block list. The code base we are going to look at is slightly bigger than our normal ones. So let's say a little more focused on this particular lesson, as the code base is slightly more complicated. So this is the documentation of content safety. In this particular example, we are going to focus on block list. We have seen moderation of text and images. Block list is slightly more complicated or slightly more steps involved. But before that, I would like to show you the documentation of content safety, which is this. From here, we can do multiple things on content safety, which is a fairly new service which replaces content moderation. So image moderation, text moderation, all these things we have seen. There are a couple of things which we have not seen. Feel free to explore more. Probably the block list is slightly or the most complicated. So this is the documentation of block list inside content safety. So as you can see, some of this data can be offensive. There's this warning there. So this is the short definition of block list if you want to pause the video and have a read through it. So at the end of the day, it's all about reading documentation and trying out different samples. So it is important that you build the skill of reading documentation and trying to understand what it does. If you want, you can pause the video and go through this particular example or go through this particular documentation and see if it makes sense to you before I explain it. Anyway, I'm going to explain it. So all the prerequisites and things, and then the sample coming up. So we are going to look at Python. There are different samples. Almost all the samples we are seeing, there are conversions, translations in all the programming languages, because it is a REST API. REST APIs can be called from any programming language. So this is the Python example which we will be looking at. And there are so many lines of code: add, delete, list, etc. So we'll be looking at some of it in our sample. So before I get into the code itself, I would like to explain a little bit about the block list. It's not that complicated. So let's get into the Blackboard and have a quick look. So block list is, at least the example we are going to see, is specific to text as of now. So we have the input text, which we don't trust, or the text to moderate. This is the text to moderate. And we are giving that text to the AI service. This is the content safety service in Azure AI. And we get the output, which is our JSON output. Now, this model already knows a lot of bad things in the text. So we have seen the hate, violence, sexual content, all those things the model already knows by default. A lot of them it knows. What if we have a special word the model is not catching? For example, we are using some custom language in English or something specific to our text, which we consider offensive or should be removed. Block list coming up. So the block list is something we add. It's a list of words, if you will, to the model. That model will include, the AI service will include that particular text, that particular word to the filtering mechanism. So that is the block list is all about. So list of custom words. So that is the block list. Now we need to have provision to add words to it, remove words to it, create one of this list, maintain this list. So basically it behaves like a small database, if you will, within the model. So when we talk about databases, it's all about CRUD, C-R-U-D. Not sure if you have heard this particular word before. CRUD is all about create, read, update, and delete. So that is what the code is all about. The code is all about creating, removing, updating, and deleting the block list items and the block list itself. So you will see a lot of code, a lot of duplication is there. It's not a well-written code. I just made a sample just by copying all those MSD and examples, but it works. But ultimately what it does is pretty much these things on the block list. So we'll create a block list, we'll add items to the block list, we remove items, we delete the block list, update the block list, and things like that. List and get and all that kind of basic crude operations we'll be performing in the code. And of course, we will try to do a moderation after we update our block list and make sure that the block list is correctly used by the model, create the final output. So that's what we are going to do now. So this is our block list example in the content safety. So we are using the same key and the same service endpoint we have seen. Now let's have a look at a couple of functions which explains what we just discussed, which is the implementation of more or less the crude create, update, read and delete inside the block list. So this is the first function we are having, create or update text block list. So from the name of the function itself, it's very clear what it does. So in here, each and every function has this import. While it's legal, I don't recommend it. Just put it on the top of the file if you want. The reason it is coming here like this is because I have copied the samples from that document which we just saw before and modified it. But it is exactly same pip install we need as AA content safety. Just two additional objects we are importing, block list client and text block list. Everything else remains the same. So the first thing we are doing is a client creation of the block list client, just like we are doing for other things, to call the REST API behind the scenes. And then we are calling this particular function block list client.create or update text block list. That's the function which we are calling, and we are passing a name. The name we are passing here is test block list. You can put any name you want, and there is a description as well. So pretty straightforward. We are passing the description and name to the function and different arguments. So one thing to notice here is that we are not doing anything with this object. We are just discarding this particular object because we will be accessing the block list with this name from now onwards. So be mindful about that. This is the way we'll be accessing the block list which we have created here using this particular string, which is the name of the block list. So if the API call is success, we are printing the name and description right here. Otherwise, we are handling the error. So add block list items or add block items. That is the function we are looking at. The second function. Again, we are creating the block list client like so. And we got a client here and client dot add or update block list items. Pretty much the same function we are calling, and a couple of things we are initializing here. The block list name, like I said, it's the same name. This is how we access the block list. And these are the two items we are planning to add, or text we are planning to add. One is kill with a star in it. Another is hate with a star in it. Instead of A and I, we have put a star. So the idea is if this words are there in the text, we need to moderate. We are telling the model, keep a watch for these words so that you can moderate it. So that's the idea here. So we are giving custom instruction to the model such that it fits our custom needs. That's the idea here. So this is kind of very common in artificial intelligence. So we need to tweak the model. The model knows a couple of things. The model does default things, but we need to tweak the model according to our specific requirement. A common use case in all kind of AI scenarios. For example, ChatGPT. So ChatGPT has something called RAG. RAG is all about similar idea here. Tuning or making the LLMs work with private data, which is exactly what we are doing here. We have some custom information we are teaching the model. So in line number 62, we are creating the block items using the text given. So text block list item. We are creating the block list item here. Text equal to this first word and text equal to second word. Based on the text, these items will be created. Now what we are going to do with that item, we are passing that item right here in the add or update block list items API. As you can see, it is another crude function, add or update. So we will see a lot of this kind of functions throughout this code. And then we are printing the result just like this. And this is the function which analyzes the text with the block list. So now we have created the block list and we have added that block list to a particular model. Now we need to use it somehow. Again, for that, we are calling the content safety client. So this is the function we are looking at inside analyze text with block list. As you can see, I'm ignoring all the lines which are not important or repeating. Only 5 or 6 lines or 10 lines in this code is really relevant or worth looking at. Everything else is just repetitions and things like that. Error handling, repetition. So although the code is almost 400 lines, don't worry about it. It's just 10 or 15 lines essentially. So we are creating the content safety client here, just like we did before. And we have a block list and we have a input text. If you remember our diagram, this is our input text to moderate, and this is our block list. The block list is already created and we have these 2 words inside the block list. And then what we are doing is we are calling the analyze text API from the client, the moderation client or the safety client. And we are passing all these things inside it. So of course the text, then the block list names. As you can see, it's an array. You can pass multiple block lists here. There could be n number of block lists. Halt on block list hit false. Do you want to stop processing while a block list is hit? We have made it false. We want continuous processing. And this is how we analyze our text using a block list. Probably the single most important line in this whole code. Analyze text. This is the actual line which gets things done. Now this is a result. As always, we just parse the result and print it. Now some more functions inside block list. List text block list. So it will list all the existing text block list. For example, if there is 10 block lists we have created, all the 10 will get displayed here. We are just getting the existing block list and printing in a loop. We'll see that when we execute the whole thing. This is the code to get a particular block list. So after listing, if you want to get more information about a particular block list, we can use this particular API, get block list. So we get the block list like this. And then the name and description is getting printed. List block list items. So this is the API to print the items inside, the text items inside a block list. So a particular model can have n number of block list, and each block list can have n number of items. So it's like a small hierarchy, if you will. So this is how you print the items inside a block list. So we are passing the block list name and it'll display the items inside a block list. This is getting one particular item. So you have an item and a block list, and we are getting that particular item, the object for that item. So the API we are calling here is get text block list item, no surprise. And what we are passing is the block list name and the block list item ID. So where is this ID coming from? So the ID is coming from here. We are taking the block list and we are taking this particular item from the array. And this is a result we are getting when we add or update block list, which is the API we have seen before. And again, the final activity, which is the removing items and removing block list. So this is the removal code. And this is how it is done. Very similar to list or get. The API being called is a remove block list item. The rest of the code remains more or less exactly same as the previous function. And finally, the delete block list. To delete a particular block list, we are going to delete this block list in the end. And the API which is called is delete text block list. And finally, we are calling all the functions here, all the functions we have seen. Like I mentioned, it's all too many lines of code, but very few lines which worth paying attention. Straightforward code, although it looks a lot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put breakpoint in each functions. So first is this one, then this, all the functions we are putting breakpoint so that we can see the execution of all. That's what we are going to do. Some of the lines we will skip, but otherwise we'll get into most of them. So right now we have breakpoint in pretty much all the functions. If you want to put breakpoint in some other places, feel free to. It's all up to you. You can use F11, F10, Shift F11 and all sorts of debugging techniques. But when it comes to big code like this, my general recommendation is that look at the lines which really matters. And there'll be very few lines will be important. Focus on those lines and you should be good to go. Always, this is the case in any programming language. Whenever you see thousands of lines of code, only few lines of code will be really doing the task. Focus on that and you will conquer any big code base. So this example is no different. And of course, feel free to debug just like we are doing right now. So create or update text block list. We are going inside it, step into, and we are skipping all the lines. What we need is this particular line here. So this is the line we are calling, and let's look at the arguments we are passing. We are passing block list name and description. So this is the description we are passing, and we are calling the API, and we got the block list object. So let's have a quick watch. Add to watch. Let me remove this. So the object is pretty straightforward. Only two fields worth looking at: the block list name and description, nothing else inside it. Those are the things we know. We have seen all this underscore things and special and function we ignore. Only two things, which is the stuff we passed. But it has created a block list object in the backend. So next function is add block items. And in here we have these items we have seen, and we are calling like so. So these two text item we are passing, and we are going to get this particular object block items. So it is just a normal array with a dictionary inside. As you can see, no complexity here. And then we are passing that to this particular API. And this is the result we are getting. And result has only one element, which is block list items. So these are the block list items. Here there are a couple of things in each item in the array. One additional thing has come up is the block list item ID. So this, it has automatically created. It's a GUID and then our text right here. Feel free to explore it more if you like. But again, it is an array with two elements because two items we have passed, and it has additionally, there is an ID coming up here. And we are printing that thing here, which is not very interesting for us. Now next we are going to look at analyze text with block list. We have created the block list and added items to it. And what matters is this particular line right here. So we got that line, the breakpoint. We have already created the content safety client successfully from the endpoint and things like that. So it is looking good. And we have prepared our block list name and input text. And let me add this to the watch. Let me close this and let's see what we got. We got the response from the model. Like I said, this is the most important line in this whole thing. So the block list match, we have a couple of things here. One is the block list match. Another is category analysis. Two items are there. Let's go one of it. And we have two hits. One is on hate. Another is on the kill in the text. And the category analysis, we have hate is equal to 2, severity 2, hate, and violence is 4. So it has correctly identified the violence and severity nature of the text we are trying to give. So from this word itself, it has figured out, the model has figured out it is hate indeed with a star inside it. So the model has that intellectual capability to understand, just like us, that this is hate, not anything else. Same with kill. It has identified correctly. So it is not a plain text match. It is not a grep. It is thinking. Just like we are thinking, it is also thinking and deciding. That's why it has correctly given the severity and violence. For hate and violence, the severity is 4. So keep a note of that. So it is not a plain text match like we are thinking. So it is doing much more than that. And we are printing the match result, although we are not printing the category analysis, but have a look. Try to test with other texts and things like that. I have not tested this particular model very extensively, but it's so far looking really good and promising. Now, before we go, let's go through the rest of the functions real quick. Again, not any complicated. So this is the list text block list. So this is supposed to list all the block list. So we got a type of block list item, iterator. So this is an iterator object, iterator or iterator, depends on how you pronounce it. The idea is you can't simply look into the watch window. Watch window is not smart enough to show the iterators or iterators. We need a for loop here. So that's why we are having a for loop. So we'll take each item. In this case, we should have only one item. And this is the block list we have created in the beginning, just one block list for this particular model or endpoint. And that's it. We have displayed the block list correctly. Next is client get text block list. So again, we got a block list with the name. We have seen this before and we are printing it. Nothing complicated. Feel free to look into it in more detail. Ask any questions if you have. I'm skipping a few details here because it's very trivial and straightforward. So next is list block items. So list block items is here. So what we are passing the block list name. Again, we are getting an iterator and we are having a for loop here to iterate through the iterator. And we got the first item, which is our hate one. This is the hate block list item we are having with the ID. And this is a kill item we are having. So 2 items we got, which is there in the block list. No surprise, all looking exactly as it is to be. Get block item. So a lot of these APIs sounds very similar, but slight difference are there. Some are items. The previous one was items. The S was there. Make a huge difference. When the S is there, you're getting a list of items. When the S is not there, you're just getting that item, the details of that one particular item. That's what we are doing here. So what are the things we are passing? We are passing the name of the block list and the text. So forget about all these objects. These are custom objects. Basically, dictionary is created from the text we are giving and then just putting it in a nice format to give to the API, making it ready for the API call. But this is the actual API call happening here, the REST API call. So we got the result here, add result, and here we are getting block list item. So there is a difference of S. So this is a particular item and these are all the items. So what is the parameters we are passing to this particular API? The block list name and the block list item ID. So those are the 2 things we are passing. And we got the block list item like this and we are going to print it. Finally, the one we are going to look is the delete and remove. So the remove is first remove an item from the block list. That's what we are going to do. Very similar to the previous function. We are getting the block list items like so, and then we are getting the block list item ID to remove. In this case, we are just getting the first item to remove. We're getting the first item to remove, whatever it is. In this case, the one which is getting removed is the kill one, the kill block list item. And the API call is this, and we are passing the block list name and that particular ID, the GUID of the block list. And we are printing that here. Now finally, we are deleting the block list itself and we are passing the block list name to delete the block list, which will delete all the items inside it as well. So that is all about block list. Have a look at the code. The code is slightly bigger, but at the end of the day, it is a few lines of code to focus on. So we have seen content moderation or content safety using block list. We saw a slightly bigger code base, but now we know how to tackle it. Play with the code base and get familiarized with the code. Feel free to make changes and debug it further to feel more comfortable.